And just in tonight, new outrage over President Bush's decision to give sensitive surveillance technology to China as it prepares for the Beijing Olympics. Will the equipment only be used for security, or given China's track record, come on, it might be used against us? That's the question. And joining me from Capitol Hill is Michigan Congressman who's been a leader on this issue, Thaddeus McCotter, the chairman of the House Republican Committee. Congressman, I remember the letter you wrote to President Bush a few months back about China and what China has been doing in the name of advancing its PR and all of that, urging President Bush to at least not go to the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. I talked a lot about it on my radio show, but this new information, I got to tell you, even surprised me, and I've been following this China stuff for 10 years.
Well, first, Laura, thank you for having me on, and thank you for all you're doing to bring the issue of communist China to America's attention. I'm 42 years old. I remember Tiananmen Square vividly. That was my generation being butchered by the communist regime for quoting Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and trying to exercise their God-given right to liberty. What we see today now, unfortunately, is the United States government, a Republican government, that is helping the communist regime to restore, quote-unquote, order to their population in the wake of the coming Olympics. I am very disheartened at the fact that this Republican administration would use American technology and American security know-how and place it into the hands of a regime that is going to use it to oppress its people.
Well, I want to go through, for people who might not follow this story, Congressman, I want to go through a list of China, I like to call it horror stories. They're all too horrific. What's going on in China? Number one, China's arming our enemies. They're engaging in espionage against us, including cyber warfare. They're abetting genocide in Sudan. They're violating basic human rights. We know about that. You mentioned Tiananmen Square. There's so much more. And also, let's not forget the one-child policy. We've learned that they've been harvesting organs from prisoners, people who've died in prison or have been executed by the Chinese regime. We have an issue with North Korean people leaving North Korea and being sent back to North Korea from China, basically to be executed. Nobody's talking about that issue. Come on. I mean, it's just so frustrating.
Laura, as a Republican, someone from the party of Ronald Reagan and Abraham Lincoln, to see the way that we have forsaken our morality for money in this instance, to see the way that we have so cavalierly treated the liberty of the liberty of the Chinese people, we have endangered our own by doing this. Just as the Soviet Union was in the 1950s, constituting a strategic threat to the United States and a rival model of governance, Communist China presents to this generation of Americans a strategic threat and rival model of governance. If we continue to pretend that they're a free society, if we continue to attend Olympic Games and have our president go over there while 130 people at least are still in prison from the massacre in Tiananmen Square, what are we saying to the world about ourselves? What are we saying to the world about our moral commitment as Republicans to extending the liberty to others, to giving them a chance to breathe free? Again, if we betray their liberty for the sake of money, we will endanger our own liberty here. It is that simple.
Congressman, I think there are over 1 million people in the re-education camps. Don't you love that? In China, I mean, the horrors, we're not even going to know what the horrors are. But one thing I found very disturbing is that during the Olympics, the 38th Group Army is going to be protecting the actual Olympic Games. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the same Army group, the same unit that actually stormed Tiananmen Square to crack down on those protesters?
As we've noted throughout history, Laura, you're correct. Evil regimes tend to have a perverse sense of humor. It is their way of showing that they are superior to what they believe inferior Western democracies that are run by their sovereign citizens and their subservient governments. Again, this is very frustrating for me as a Republican. It is very frustrating for me, more importantly, as an American. Because if you look down the road and you see the actions of this regime in relation to its own people, in relation to the United States, it not only endangers our liberty, prosperity, and security in the long run, it endangers the fundamental reason individuals like myself come to serve in Congress. It endangers the fundamental reason people like you are true believers. We exist to keep America the greatest nation on the face of the earth. This is a grave threat to it, and we must address it.
Well, Congressman, I can't believe great companies like GE are helping get that technology for surveillance for the Olympics. I just see trouble here. I see trouble all over this story. But Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, you're doing great work on this. We really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Laura.